Hello and welcome back to another episode of Charla Football. I'm your host, as always, Gerardo Jerry Tavares, accompanied by Jonathan and Tomas. I know we just did one earlier, but we had to go back to back because we were missing. I mean, Tomas and I specifically were missing for quite some time. That's why we haven't posted no pods. It's been about like 2 weeks since we recorded the last pod. So up until today, we recorded one back to back. So I mean, we got to catch up with what happened over the UCL. Obviously, we were out there. It was very difficult to record content because the situation that we had in front of us. We were in a small ass hotel room, not very comfortable. No good lighting. We didn't have our speaker nor our studio, and obviously there's just a lot going on. But before we get into anything, first I just want to ask how you guys doing, Tomas, Jonathan. How you guys doing today?
No good, bro. Hitting that double OT, but no, here we are, bro.
It's all right, bro. You're not getting paid, so it doesn't matter.
Double up, bro. Might as well get the next one wrapped up. Let's get it going. Keep this content flowing. A lot of soccer coming up. A lot of football. Coming out.
Yeah, get it right, bro. The Brits are gonna start coming for you,
man. Don't want to get in trouble, but a lot of content coming soon.
Yeah, so obviously the first thing we're going to talk about and the main topic of this pod is going to be the UEFA Champions League, the final between Borussia Dortmund and Real Madrid that happened in Wembley. Like I said, we were out there, so we were able to experience that firsthand. So we'll talk about a little bit of our experience, obviously talk about the game, and we're going to move and end the pod with the new format going into the next season, because the current format where we have like the group stage and everything, it's not going to happen anymore. We're going to start seeing a somewhat new format of the Super League. It's not the Super League. It's technically not the Super League, but it's something similar to it. So we'll talk about that too. And but before we get into that, just make sure to follow us at charlafootball. That's CHARLA football. Follow us Instagram, TikTok, all social media platforms. Follow us on our personal pages. And yeah, make sure to support your small creators, because together we're going to make it big. The main goal is to be at the World Cup in 2026, and hopefully you guys can follow us along for that journey. But like I said, we were out in London, and it was such a wonderful experience, first and foremost, to just be able to travel. It's not often where you get to go to the UK and you see a lot of different cultures, a lot of different people. And I think just the best part about it was the football, of course, the way football is lived in the UK. Obviously, there's a reason why the Premier League is the biggest league in the world, is because the culture behind football is it's massive. You don't get it anywhere else other than the UK. It's probably the best place for football. And I'm glad that the final was there, because you can really tell, from even just 2-3 days prior, there were already festivals going on, a lot of people, a lot of just different things that you don't typically get when you're over here in the States, for example. Tomas, I don't know if you want to touch on your experience a little bit being out in London and, experiencing the final for yourself, but if you can, greatly appreciated.
Yeah, it's just insane. Like, you knew the final was going on. Even if you didn't know that the final was going on, they would let you know because of all the festivals, the events. They had Kaká, Cafu, and Roberto Figo there, just playing little pickup matches versus other ex-pros and other people, in that ambient. But it's just something. It's so special, especially since the football was founded in England. You could really tell that people just really breathe and think about football constantly, like 24/7. You see on the day-to-day people with their Arsenal jersey, the Tottenham jersey, just walking around casually, and it's something that you don't really see here. Like, yeah, you'll see a jersey here and there, but not as constant as it is in London.
Yeah, it's definitely taken on like that whole, like the fashion. Basically, it's part of the culture, the fashion over there. Like, yeah. I remember walking down the street and there was a girl wearing a Belgium jersey. It's just, at this point, it's not because they're from Belgium or they support the team, but it's just the fashion out there. Over here, you probably will get clowned on for wearing different jerseys. I remember growing up, I would get clowned on for wearing like my Mexico jersey or something like that. But now it's like it's in. Everybody wants to watch football. Everybody wants to be Mexican. Everybody wants to be involved in something that's evolving so immensely like football is. But we're kind of straying off topic. But like I said, Madrid versus Borussia Dortmund was the big game that we were out there for, and obviously, like, I think it made itself known, especially the day of. I noticed like anywhere on the subways, you would see Dortmund fans and Madrid fans just walking around the streets, just wandering, from their hotel room to the subways, fighting. Man, luckily we didn't really experience any fights.
There was a couple of altercations.
Arguments, yeah, there were little altercations, verbal arguments, but nothing serious, luckily. It would have been fun to watch, but I don't condone violence, so I'm just
I
gonna
just
say
view it. I'm saying I just watch it.
but other than that, I mean, the day of the game, like I said, it was just something so crazy. I mean, for me in general, like it was a little stressful because I was trying to get that ticket all last minute and ended up getting it, but it was like the last 10 minutes of the game, so I had to like run into the match. Both me and Tomas were like running into the stadium. The game had already started by the time we got into the stadium, so it was definitely extremely stressful. But I mean, it was beautiful just to be there. You know, you walk into Wembley Stadium and then you see just the lights beaming, just like boom, and you play the players on the field. Like the stadium is so loud, especially the Dortmund fans. I think that was the best part, how loud the Dortmund fans are, even though, I mean, no, actually, I think Dortmund were considered the home team at this point. I think there was like something like 120,000 Germans just in London in general. Not all of them were there to watch the game or like to be in the stadium, but at least to still support from outside of the stadium, go to bars and whatnot around the area. But I mean, it just felt like such a big match, especially for Dortmund, and you just kind of have to feel for them because we all know the result that happened at the end. But from the very first minute, or even before the whistle, I mean, it just felt like such a big moment for them. A lot of talk about Marco Reus. It's his last dance with Borussia Dortmund because he's going to be moving to LA Galaxy, and then Dortmund were. I mean, nobody saw them like we've already talked about throughout the pod plenty of times. Nobody saw them here at all. I don't know if you guys thought they would make it to the final, but I for sure didn't.
No, for sure I didn't.
Definitely not.
So it to me is just there was an underdog story, and everybody roots for the underdog. I remember talking to one of the Madrid fans, and he was like, "We're Madrid. At the end of the day, nobody wants us to win because we've won so much." He was like, "We don't say this out of arrogance. It's just confidence because it's the fact. The fact is that we have 14 Champions League titles. We're one of the best, if not the best sporting franchises, one of the best sporting franchises in the world, and today we're going to prove that." And I mean, they did just that, but obviously, I mean, as a neutral, and I think even if you're just a casual fan, you just think like, oh, you want the underdog to win, especially after such a wonderful story that Dortmund have put up, knocking out the likes of PSV, Atletico Madrid, and PSG. I mean, at least PSG and Atletico, or at least nobody saw them being able to advance past them for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't.
Known finalists. Like they're known finalists. We've seen them go to finals, and just like you said earlier, my bad to cut you off, the month. But like they're just teams that we didn't expect to see go to the final.
Yeah, I mean that's completely true. But I mean, you touch a lot on the Dortmund fans and the Dortmund this, but in the stadium, I could say easily there was more Madrid fans. The Dortmund fans were just really louder. But I know up until a little bit before the midfield, up until all of our sections, it was all white.
Madrid.
We were deep in Madrid territory, and I mean, I was the biggest Madridista that day because I don't want to get jumped or anything.
Yeah, I was scared. I was like, I remember when they almost scored that first goal. That I think it was Adeyemi. He hit the bar. Was it Adeyemi or Fulkrug? They hit the bar. The post. Fulkrug. One of them hit the post, and I thought they like literally went across the goal. So I thought it was going in or someone was gonna push it in. I remember jumping up and like not celebrating, but just like because I had my camera with me, so I was like recording, trying to like get every ounce of content that I could. And I guess maybe it looked like a celebration, but I felt like everyone was kind of looking at me, but I tried to make it look like I was a neutral, so I was just recording my camera. But I touching on that chance and the few chances that Dortmund did have in that first half, I don't think there's any denying that that was Dortmund's half right there. Like the way they played, the chances they created, and the fact that they honestly probably could have maybe not sealed the game, but made it a little bit more comfortable for themselves going into the second half with those 2-3 chances, really good chances that they did have.
Yeah, I mean they defended really well, so if they could have gotten those two chances, those two clear chances that Adeyemi and Fulkrug had, I mean that's 2-0 up, and they're defending very well because the game ends when Real Madrid scores. Because Borussia Dortmund now have to open up a bit. They have to attack forward. They have to propose rather than destroy. And when that happens, obviously Real Madrid is going to get in behind. They're going to chew up your mistakes, which is what happened getting the second goal. So if Borussia were able to put those 2 goals away and able to defend comfortably for the rest of the game, they may have won. You still can't guarantee that versus a team like Real Madrid where they constantly come back and it's really just in their nature. But it definitely could have made it more interesting to see how it would have played out, and they would have had a way higher chance of winning than I don't know why they just shit their pants when.
Literally, that's what happened. Jonathan, what would you? How do you feel? Do you think like Dortmund would have won the Champions League if they at least put those two chances away in the first half?
Me personally, once I saw that they missed that 1-on-1, I was like, okay, second half, you're not gonna get as much chances as you get the first, because not only is Real Madrid about to get a break and pretty much see their mistakes, but they know what they're playing for. I mean, they had what, 5, now 6-time winners, but at the time 5 players who had played like the past 5 finals that they've been in. For example, Cruz, Modric, we all know the players. They all knew basically that, hey, at the end of the day, we're Real Madrid. You're beating us 2-0. We're gonna find a way to score 2 goals and take it to overtime, maybe even take it to penalties all the way. We've seen it happen numerous amount of times. For example, like 2 years ago when they had Benzema, when they went, was it Rodrigo 2 goals in the last minute? Everybody was like, finally they're gonna get knocked out, and boom, here comes Rodrigo. Ancelotti makes those 2 subs, and they're back in the final once again. And that was the case for me. Whether Dortmund would have scored the first or second goal, once Carvajal scored the goal, it was over. We all knew it was over. And then the second goal came from Vini. Of course, Fulcro got that offside goal, which was arguable. But even with that goal, were they really going to score another one? It was just Madrid's cup. We all know whether there's an underdog or not. We've seen the underdog story many times. The likes of Juve, Atleti twice, and of course, Real always comes out on top. Unfortunately, for many Real Madrid haters, that's just the way it is. And it doesn't look like things are changing for the future. As we all know, they just got Kylian Mbappe. But, I mean, hey, time will tell.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely a more scary team to come up against when you have the likes of Kylian Mbappe. I don't know how that's gonna change like their squad in general moving forward, because I mean when you have such an important player with, I don't know if he has ego, like a big ego or not, but a lot of the media make it seem like he does have a big ego. I don't know if it's gonna throw off the chemistry, the team environment that they already built and that they have, but I mean, we'll see how that plays out next year, if that will make them even stronger or kind of weaken them. But I guess only time will tell.
Yeah, but we do have to remember that the last time Real Madrid had 5 superstars on one team, they weren't able to accomplish anything. They went through a big drought of Champions League with them.
There's a whole conversation about how will he be another case of like Eden Hazard, where Eden Hazard was coming off some of his best years at Chelsea, and unfortunately he suffered that injury with Real Madrid. And he just fell off the face of earth. We never saw him again. Of course, he got his Champions League, but he was always on the bench doing so.
He got the check.
He's like, no, go ahead. Huh?
He said he got the check.
Hey, got his money. I mean, he made his name at Chelsea. Unfortunately, he can do the same thing in Madrid. But Mbappe's a whole other story, whole different nationality. He's coming from a whole different league. And like I said, the Real Madrid team is already stacked. I also saw a lot of comments the day that Fabrizio posted that he got signed. Saw a lot of comments saying we don't need him. Real Madrid, he thinks he's bigger than Madrid. So I feel like to some Madrid fans, especially more like the older ones, he has to still prove himself. Of course, we all know who he is. He's won a World Cup. He's been to 2 World Cup finals. But for a lot of Madrid fans, they're not letting go to what happened 2 years ago, where in a case like, okay, we didn't need you, but you're here now, so we had to support you. You're part of our team. But we all know Mbappe. He's gonna perform wherever he is. As a neutral, as a football fan, just want him to do well. I mean, as a football fan, I'm pretty sure you guys are excited to see this Real Madrid team, see what they accomplish next season.
Yeah, definitely.
And just see how they're going to line up in general, and to see which players are still going to come. The summer just started. So that's a whole nother conversation right there.
Yeah, that's just the first signing. And to be the first signing to be Kylian Mbappe, it's pretty insane. I mean, you also have the likes of Endrick coming in the summer. So I mean, they're just going to be stacking up players, and it's insane to see kind of play out. But I mean, I understand where Tomas is coming from, where like when they had, these big name signings a few years back, when the Galacticos era, they really didn't do much. Like you can tell that when you put a lot of big names together, it's very hard to create balance throughout the team, because I mean some players unfortunately do think they're bigger than the club. But I think for this case it's going to be a lot more different, because Kylian Mbappe is only coming in having won the World Cup, where he wasn't really that influential when he was 18. I think he did score in the final, but he wasn't as important of a player as he is now. And I think you are right, Jonathan, when you say that he has to earn that respect now with the Madrid fans, because I'm sure right now they're coming in, like you said, they're just like, we don't need you. I think right now Mbappe needs Madrid more than Madrid need Mbappe, for sure. And they proved that with this Champions League. And I think the only reason Mbappe is there is to get a trophy in order to win the Ballon d'Or and then just boost his status as a Ballon d'Or contender and create history for himself. I don't think now it's anything deeper than that.
Yeah, like Vinicius has won 2 Champions League, scored in both of them, and I still heard some Spanish fans in the stadium saying that complaining about Vinny, like, oh, if he dedicated to only playing, like he'd be the best, one of the best players in the world, because they complain that he, like, every time that somebody's chirping at the ref, they say that, oh, it's always Vinny there for some reason.
Mhm.
So Vinny hasn't even completely received the whole respect from these older Spanish heads, which I did hear them, complaining throughout the whole game about Vinicius up until he scored. But even and then when he did score, they were just saying, "Oh well, if he would have played like that, like if he only like solely dedicated himself to playing, he'd be one of the best in the world." Which for me, he already is one of the best in the world.
I was
But
about
for,
to say he
for
is.
Real Madrid fans' terms, they've had the best in the world. They've had
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo. They had the best nines before. So it's
But
just it's gonna be Kylian Mbappe is gonna be constantly compared to these players, to Ronaldo, to Beckham when he was in Madrid, to Ronaldo Nazario, to like these players that just went through Madrid, and Zidane. I mean Zidane. It's just so many players to
the list
name that he's
goes
always
on.
going to be constantly compared to. He's
And
not. He's not. He's not going to be the best player to come to Madrid. He's not going to be the best player to leave Madrid. He's just going to be another player on a big team.
But that's what comes with playing for Real Madrid. For example, like I said, Vini, he's scoring team goals, making them win their biggest domestic title, and yet there's still those doubters, those haters within amongst your own fans. And I feel like that's just something that Ronaldo left behind Cristiano. That he was winning everything, but on top of that, winning his own individual uh, games. But you can't just duplicate players like that. It's not simple. It's not something that happens all the time. I mean,
Mhm.
we were blessed to grow up in that era where we saw Messi and Ronaldo dominating the whole world stages at all times. But now it's more of a team game, not just someone that plays for just one player. And Mbappe knows what he's getting himself into. And I feel like that's perfect for both Mbappe and Vinny. Vinny needs that player who's gonna essentially help him become, or maybe he wants to. That's the thing. We can't even predict what they're going to do because they have so many players. You can't say, okay, Vinny's going to try to get more assists. Now that Mbappe's playing up top, we can't say he's going to get more goals. Now he's alongside Mbappe just because they have the likes of Rodrigo, Arda Güler. There's so many players that can just go on and on. But as you said, Real Madrid, their standards are set very, very high. They expect their team to win everything every season.
Right.
And Mbappe, that's what he needs. I mean, we saw him these last few games with PSG. He was not doing well against Barcelona. Even the game where they were down a man after Araujo's red card, we saw them getting a lot of shots on target, but eventually it only became to, what was it, 1 or 2 goals they won by, when they could have easily won by like 4 or 5 goals. And hopefully this will be Mbappe's chance to really put himself out there. If he really wants to be a Ballon d'Or front runner, he needs to also prove himself in front of the Real fans and essentially the world fans.
No, yeah, completely agreed.
The thing is that Real Madrid has this depth that is crazy. I mean, their bench could probably make a Champions League semifinal. I mean, Brahim Diaz, Arda Güler. I mean, Lunin. Uh, just so many players that they have. I mean, Endrick now would be considered their bench player.
Militao, center back.
I mean, it's insane the depth that this
That,
team has.
that,
And the
but
thing
it's
is that,
because of players like that.
yeah,
They're surrounded by good players. Essentially, they'll become better players themselves. They'll know, okay, maybe next season I'll get my chance. They don't know if this player's going to stay. I mean, most of us probably forgot that David Alaba still plays for them because he's out on injury.
That's true.
But we
Yeah.
don't even remember because of how good they are. They're
Mhm.
so good at defense with the likes of Nacho, who's leaving now. At that his age, he was still playing such a great role. And we saw him win his 6th Champions League. No one's ever done it except for 5 Real Madrid players.
yeah, that's true.
Now, on the topic of how good Madrid are, like, moving forward to the next season, obviously we're going to see a new format. Do we still see Madrid? Like, who's going to be able to stop Madrid? Like, who or do we see them like lifting up the trophy one more time? Maybe chasing that back-to-back Champions League? Is that possible? Who can stop this Madrid team?
The only team that can stop Madrid is Manchester City. That's the only team that was able to outplay them this year. Yes, they didn't win, but they also didn't lose them. The tiebreakers are penalties. So unless Arsenal gets like some 3 crazy signings, or unless, I don't even know, unless Barcelona, like, it's not even, I don't even think Barcelona could do anything right now because of the money situation, but it's literally just City. There's no other team that was able to outplay them this time, and now with Mbappe, I think it's just City, bro. There's nobody else that can do it.
That's true. I honestly, I'm gonna have to agree with you. I would have thought Bayern Munich would have been like thrown into that conversation, and I mean they put up a good fight against Real Madrid. There's no doubt about that. They definitely made the tie a lot more interesting after Alfonso Davies scored that goal. But I mean, it's just the mentality. The Madrid mentality is just way too great. It's very hard to overcome that, especially. I mean, when you have players that, like we've already mentioned, they've been here, done that, have won 5 Champions League, now on their 6th one, going to chase their 7th one. Like, they're not going to be phased by anything.
Yeah,
But
it's
it is.
Go ahead.
There's
I
nobody
was just
that
going
can beat this Madrid team.
Robin?
Nobody can beat this Madrid team if it's not City's. That's it.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. But I think with this new format, it's going to make things a lot more interesting. And that's something I want to talk about. How do we feel about the new format? So I know there was a lot of negativity around the Super League, and basically this is just a glorified version of the Super League. So I put up I have a little like a picture on the notes right here. So it's the top 8 teams that qualify. So it's just one group of 36 teams that will be in performing. So it's almost like a league. It's the way, like I said, it's like the Super League essentially. So the top 8, they go directly to the round of 16. Teams finishing 9 through 24th will enter the playoff round for the remaining 8 knockout places. So that will be for the round of 16 as well. And then everyone else from 25 to 36 eliminated from all European competition. How do you guys feel about that? Because I know right now the teams that I think like the 3rd best teams currently would get knocked out and go to Europa League. But now the bottom half don't even get Europa League at all.
So do the 8 teams that you play, so do you play different opponents or do you play the same opponents 4 times? I mean, do you play the same opponent twice?
I think you just play them once. I think everyone you play them once. Because it's a league. It's essentially you're looking at a league.
I mean, me personally, I like. I was saying I like the idea because the past few years it's usually the same teams we've seen in the Champions League, same teams over and over, the same big 4 or 5 teams. Was it 4 teams from each of the 5 like biggest countries? And now, for example, was in Italy, they believe they have 8 or 9 teams playing in Europe. It gives teams that leverage to be okay. Let's be the next. For example, in Spain, we could be the next Atletico. Can't say Real Madrid because of all the championships they won, but the team that's going to be known to be in the Champions League every season. It's going to give them more exposure to teams around the world. Going to give those players who are not as well known in other countries exposure as well. For example, like a team can use this player from this team and say, okay, you know what, in the Champions League we saw him shine a little bit. We're going to bring him next year for us to play. And I feel like it's great for more individual growth. Also for neutral fans. For example, how you said that the bottom 3 are going to go to Europa. It's going to be more fans, more eyes. I feel like this is great for neutral fans, like I said. And also just to get something new, the Champions League didn't need to be changed in any type of way, in my opinion. Whether it did or didn't, I was not bothered by it. But that's my opinion on it so far. Look into it a little bit more. So.
Honestly, I kind of like it. And I was kind of just reviewing the picture that I pulled up right here. And I see that each team will play 8 opponents, 4 times at home and then 4 times away. So I don't know exactly how that's going to work out, but it looks like you will be playing 8 teams for 8 times basically.
But so how many teams qualify?
Sorry.
Well, why does it say top 8 teams qualify and then 9 to 24 enter playoff round for remaining knockout places, right?
Yeah, so the first 8, say like that's the first like bracket of the round of 16. Now that round of 16 need to figure out who they're going to be facing against. And who they're going to be facing against is going to be from 9 through 24.
Yeah, so 9 through 24. So isn't there only 24 teams qualifying? Like it says a single group of 36 teams, but there's only 24 teams. You get what I'm saying?
But so those 9 through 24, they face each other, right?
Yeah, I know.
And then they get not like it's just one of that's 8. Isn't that 8 right there that come through? That should be 8.
Yeah. 8 qualified directly, right?
The top 8 qualify directly, yes. And then 9 through 24, they're gonna play their own like almost like a round of 32. So they play a knockout game, and then the team that wins there goes to the round of 16 with with the top 8 teams, and then 25 and below they're just completely eliminated from all European competition.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
watch it play out, man.
Yeah, we're not watching it play out because it is a little confusing, and I mean, obviously, as you guys can tell, like just looking at it, it's very hard to explain. I mean, it's just something new that we've just have not seen from the Champions League. So we'll see how it plays out. It is different, so I'm open. I'm open to seeing how it
You're
how
gonna see the same teams either way, though.
what happened.
You're probably gonna see the same teams either way, though.
Yeah, because they have the bigger budgets,
It's the
better
league.
players.
I mean, yeah, it's the league now. It's like the Prem. Man City is always first. Why? Because it's a league. You're playing different competition. Yeah, you only play eight teams, but Madrid, City. If Madrid and City don't face each other, they're not losing.
Mhm. We'll see how it comes out because I'm excited to see because it's something different, but I don't know if it's gonna be a good different or a bad different.
We gotta touch back up on this video after the summer is over and see which teams make which signings, and kind of retouch on this video once again. Start making a little bit more predictions and see how things go from there on out.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna have to see how we're gonna like cover it too, moving into like the Champions League season, because typically right now, I mean, we've been covering every like Tuesday and Wednesday. I don't know if they're still going to be playing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So I mean, it's all up in the air right now.
My thing is this: like, why are people so open to seeing this format where it's the same thing as a Super League would have been? Like, what's the complete difference? The bigger teams are gonna get through.
Well, I think people were. I mean, I don't think there was a big opposition towards the Super League. It's that UEFA didn't like the Super League, and I think there's like a money issue in that sense. I mean,
they're doing the same exact thing that Florentino Perez was looking to do.
Exactly. It's the same thing. But now all this money is going to UEFA versus I think with the Super League, the money was going to be distributed evenly throughout the clubs versus now it's all going to UEFA.
Yeah. See, like I would have much preferred that the clubs did their own thing because UEFA is just making a money grab now.
Yeah, that's all it is. Because I think most people like the Super League, or it's like they just wanted to see how it would play out. But
I remember what the Super League people were saying. People were saying, "Oh, like no more Blackburn Rovers or no more, these historic clubs that somehow made it into the Champions League and were able to get deep into it."
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be the same thing. These clubs that, let's say, like a Leicester City makes it in third, or recently how was it Aston Villa that qualified the Champions League?
Yeah,
they're not going to be able to do anything because it's a league format. The only way you'd have a chance was if it was like a direct, like only one game played scenario. But this is gonna kill any small team looking to win the Champions League.
Yeah, unless they pull up some sort of historic run, which is, I mean, like we said, I mean, same thing with Dortmund that happened this year. We didn't expect them to get there, and they did. But we'll see if something similar can happen. And I get, like we've already said, it's just we're gonna have to wait and see. To be honest, that's it.
Watch it play out.
Yeah. So that pretty much covers everything that we wanted to talk about. So again, thank you guys for listening. I appreciate everyone that is listening and watching the pod. Make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. Follow ours personal as well. Make sure to support your small creators because together we'll make it big. And thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Tomas, for hopping on as always. And we'll see you guys on the next one.